Hey everybody, this is Kerry, and today I'm going to talk about Kala Sarpa Yoga. This is a combination of planets that appear sometimes in the sky, and it tends to be very dramatic. So I'm going to give you a little bit about the basis of it, how it's formed, and then we're going to show some charts that have Kala Sarpa Yoga. So let's get into it. First of all, the word yoga, if you've heard it, we've all heard it. It's become a popular word in all across the world. And we think about yoga as being the practice of physical postures and meditation that leads us toward joining the body and the mind and unifying our internal force fields to create a more smooth life experience. So the word yoga comes from the Sanskrit word yug, which means to join, to pull together. So in the context of astrology, it indicates combinations of planets. So there are many yogas. There are whole books full of them. And for the most part, you can go learn what those combinations are and just take it for face value. I tend to get deep into the why of everything. And so I've thought a lot about why we're even paying attention to this particular Kalasarpa yoga, which, to be fair, is not one of the classical combinations in the thousands of years that Vedic astrology has been chronicled from the ancient sutras up until now. Kalasarpa yoga did not really appear. Honestly, I don't really know when it arose that we started to talk about it, but for whatever reason, I've always been very obsessed with Rahu and Ketu, the two nodes of the moon, the north node of the moon being Rahu and the south node of the moon being Ketu. And it's pretty normal for obsession to come up around those two planets, shadow planets' names. Anyway, so I'm going to link into a Vedic story time I put out about how Rahu and Ketu came to be. It's an old Vedic story called the Samudra Manthan, the churning of the cosmic ocean. And so I'll put a link there. You can go listen to it. It's an audio only presentation. So these shadow planets, Rahu and Ketu, are very well known in Vedic astrology. Western astrology also uses the north and south node of the moon, but to a lesser extent. And what these nodes of the moon actually are calculated points in space that when the sun and moon at either a new moon when they're together or a full moon when they're opposite, when they align with this axis, which that's what it is. Rahu's one side of the axis, Ketu is the other side of the axis. So when the sun and moon line up with that axis, it takes the light away just for a little bit in the form of an eclipse. That is why we call them the shadow planets. So at any given time, we can't really just look up and view them in the sky. They are really only activated during those times when the sun and moon and earth line up in just the right way to cause an eclipse. So some eclipses are caused by the moon obscuring the light of the sun, and some of the eclipses are caused by Earth getting in the way. So all three are factors in eclipses and in the story of Rahu and Ketu. All right, so as an axis, right, they're always exactly opposite to each other in the zodiac. And part of the Samudra Manthan involves the story of churning the cosmic ocean. And so they are churn-like in the sense that Rahu and Ketu naturally move in retrograde motion, as compared with our observation of how the other planets move through the sky, through the zodiac. Now we know that sometimes we have a retrograde planet like Mercury, which will go retrograde 3 times per year for 3 weeks each time. The other planets also go retrograde, except for the Sun and Moon never, ever go retrograde. Rahu and Ketu are always retrograde, except for technically there are short spans when they will wobble and go direct. They're wobbly. But for the most part, their motion is retrograde through the zodiac. There are 2 ways we calculate Rahu and Ketu's motion. One is called the mean node, and one is called the true node. So if you're playing around with your Vedic astrology software and that's one of your settings, you might be interested in this. So in general, the mean node, M-E-A-N, mean just means average. So what the mean node is we're saying, hey, yes, it wobbles sometimes, and there are days when it might go retrograde and days when it might go direct, but we're just going to smooth that out. We're going to airbrush those wobbles out, and we're going to just average the position of them so that they look like they're always going retrograde. With our modern observational abilities, we now know every second when Rahu and Ketu will go direct for a little bit. And so that's what the true node measures and calculates, is what is that node actually doing? And when I turn on my charts, which I'm going to add on because we're going to look at some charts after this, when you see an underline underneath a planet in the charts I look at, that means that planet is retrograde. So I have my settings on my software set to true node. So sometimes you'll see the underline and sometimes you won't. And I also use that on my weekly forecasts and monthly forecasts. So getting to know me. Okay, so how Rahu and Ketu form Kala Sarpa Yoga. Let me break down the words first. Okay, Kala, K-A-L-A, Kala. Means time. Sarpa means serpent. And yog means combination. So we're talking about the time-serpent combination. So this is one half of this yoga. There are actually 2 versions. And we'll get to that. So while Rahu and Ketu are making an axis all the time, there are times when all of the other 7 visible planets, which we call the weekday planets, starting with Sunday, the sun, Monday, the moon, and so on. We have 7 planets we can see with our eyes. When those 7 visible planets all go to one side of the Rahu-Ketu axis, we call that a form of Kala Sarpa Yoga. And there are partial and full formats of this. The yoga is considered full when all of those 7 planets occupy the 5 signs in between where Rahu and Ketu are sitting, aka there are no other planets joining the nodes. So we have all 7 planets in 5 signs, 5 contiguous signs on one side of that axis. It's considered a partial format of the yoga when one or several planets will join one or both of the nodes. And the difference I've found in trying to interpret this is that when the full format of the yoga is formed and none of the visible planets are with the nodes, it seems to be a more kind of fated event, company, life. That's the charts we're going to be looking at in a little while. So that always comes up with people that I work with directly. Is this fate? Is this what you're looking at, fate? Or do we have any free will? That's a huge question. It's a big, long philosophical debate. I don't know. I think there are truth to both of them. I think both are existing. I think we have fate and we have a little bit of free will. Figuring out where we can exercise the free will and where we surrender to fate might be the trick of Vedic astrology. So what I found is that when that full format of the yoga is formed, it shows a very intense kind of life experience or experience of an event or company like we'll be seeing. So now I'm going to tell you that there's two forms of this yoga. Because sometimes all of the planets are on one side of the axis and they're in their forward motion, they're heading for Rahu, the north node of the moon. Rahu is depicted as a head without a body and is known for desire and chaos and worldly experience. So when all of the planets are heading toward Rahu, we get Kala Sarpa Yoga. Sarpa means serpent, remember. Okay, so other times, all of the planets might be on the flip side of that axis, and they will be all moving in forward motion toward Ketu, which we picture as a body without a head, or the tail of the serpent. So we call that one Kala Amrita Yoga. So the word Amrit means nectar of immortality. That also comes up in that Samudra Manthan story that I linked before, how Rahu and Ketu became. So one of them, in a way, is like with the Amrit Yoga heading toward Ketu, and it might have a more spiritual bent. Like let's get out of earthly life and head up. Whereas the flip side with Kala Sarpa Yoga might be more, let's go down into earth and have these experiences. So that is the basics on how this yoga is formed. So it happens in real time from time to time. I always mention it when I'm doing my monthly or weekly forecasts. And I notice it when I'm working with charts. So what I've done for us today is to pick a list of charts to check out. And you can just see how they are. We're not going to spend a lot of time on each chart, but let's just get going and check it out. So this is a company called Victoria's Secret. And Victoria's Secret was opened up, that store was opened up in Palo Alto, California in 1977, June 12th. I picked noon. I don't really know what time they opened their doors. It was just a guess. And we have rectification techniques in Vedic astrology to figure out timing of things. And sometimes that helps me decide what could the rising sign of this person or thing be that I don't really know the time. So I picked noon. It seems reasonable for a retail store in June. So what a successful company, right? It's still going. 1977 it started. I forget the couple's name who started it, but about 5 years down the line, they ended up selling it to Les Wexner, and it became part of his L Brands franchise, and it's been very successful. They kind of, the people who started it, I think their whole idea was to sort of upend the undergarment industry, and I think they succeeded. The second owner could have put more of a spin on it that had more to do with the feminine and whatnot, but at any rate, the Kala Sarpa Yoga in this one, which is Kala Sarpa, because if you look, Ketu is up in the upper left and Rahu is in Virgo down in the lower right. There's no planets at all from Libra to Aquarius, and all of the other 7 planets are between Aries and Cancer, really, but Aries and Leo, technically. So this is a pure form of Kala Sarpa Yoga. And oddly enough, the way the planetary periods have been going for Victoria's Secret, it became very popular and had a lot of staying power. The moon in this chart is in Bharani Nakshatra, meaning that the first planetary period it would have been in is Venus. And this is a pretty well-placed Venus as the 10th house lord in the ninth. This was my guess on the time. This is partly why. Because that's a very powerful Venus. It's like the destiny of the feminine energy there. Plus it has a really strong 10th house and shows a lot of potential for wealth. So I think, and the secret might be the Saturn in the 12th house. This like... yeah, we don't need your conservatism over here, Saturn. We're just going to put you in the 12th house. So anyway, because of how the planetary periods ran for this particular company, we're starting in Venus, then we went to Sun, then Moon, then Mars, and all of those planets are very powerful in this chart. I think, I don't know, maybe in the just before 2020 or so, Victoria's Secret would have gone into Rahu period. And I think that CEO guy stepped down and it's being run by another, guy or whatever. So who knows what will happen in the remainder of the Rahu period to Victoria's Secret. But very successful company, and that's a view of what Kala Sarpa yoga looks like. Oh, come on. Okay, so I'm going to open up another one. This person was born just days after Victoria's Secret opened. And this is Kaya Kalas. This is an Estonian woman who is a politician. And she, her father, I think, was Prime Minister of Estonia. And she was the first female Prime Minister of Estonia from 2021 to 2024. And now I believe, I'm making this in 2026, I believe she's the Vice Chairman of the European Commission. So she's prominent. Again, I don't know her birth time. I made her Libra rising. And we don't have to worry too much about that. But again, this is the same format. The moon has moved from Aries to Gemini in this, 6-day period between Victoria's Secret opening and her birth. But again, just a prominent woman who's done a lot beyond her time, kind of like Victoria's Secret. Both of them seem very feminine driven. With the moon is the only one thing that's changed in a sense. That Venus-Mars combination in Aries seems really powerful for both Kaya and for Victoria's Secret. Also, the sun actually moved. I neglected that. The sun was in Taurus for Victoria's Secret, and then both sun and moon are new moon kind of energy for Kaya Kalas. So, anywho, that's another very prominent Kala Sarpa yoga example. I'm sorry that this keeps happening. Stop. All right, let's move on to a version of Kala Amrita Yoga. So this is the Dominion of India. This is essentially the independence of India from the British Empire, August 15th, 1947 at midnight. So very interesting chart that India has. And as you can see, the Rahu is in Taurus, Ketu is in Scorpio, and all of the planets are from Gemini to Libra, with a big clump of planets in Cancer. So this is Kala Amrita Yoga, all the planets moving toward Ketu, which is also the planet of liberation, which I think is an interesting thing that this is a liberation chart. Now, the current government of India might be a slightly different chart. I've been trying to ask my Indian friends which one should I use, but there's a Republic of India chart from 1950, I believe. But this is the liberation chart, and this is the one with the Kala Amrita Yoga. So I think that's very interesting. So there we go. And let me try. Oh, it does it again. I'm sorry, guys. It's a waste of a few seconds. Okay, let's pick another one to see. all right, this is another Kala Sarpa yoga. This guy is not a good guy. I'm just gonna be the judge here and say that. This is Andrew Tate, born December 1st, 1986. He's well known for he started out as a kickboxer, and now he's a super manosphere guy, and he is probably under house arrest at this moment, wanted on rape and human trafficking charges. So what a guy. Anyway, he has Kala Sarpa yoga. And that's the thing is, I'm not saying that you're bad or good if you have this combination. You make of your life what you will. It just seems like people who have this, or companies or events that happen under this influence, tend to be extremely driven in a certain direction. So, again, I don't think I know this guy's birth time. I think when I was playing around with it, I made him a Scorpio rising, which actually makes a lot of sense. Somehow that didn't take. But again, it doesn't matter. We have Ketu in Virgo, we have Rahu in Pisces, and then all of the other planets are heading toward Rahu. This guy's website is called Cobra Tate. That's very snaky. So that's interesting. Also, Scorpio is a very serpent-like sign. It's one of the signs that has Ketu as a co-ruler. So if you look at this chart from the sun and moon, and if we put the rising there, it does make a lot of sense. He has a very scorpionic kind of feeling to him. So I don't know what's keeping this guy out of prison. It could be, I don't know, the Jupiter-Mars combination, but let's see. I mean, literally when I was looking this chart up, the UK brought new charges against him for things done in 2014 and 2015, like literally 3 hours before I looked at this. So yeah, so just another example of what this kind of thing can look like. All right, let's go to Naruhito. He is the current emperor of Japan. Again, this is 2026 that I'm talking about. He was born in 1960 in February. Again, this is a full version of Kala Amrita yoga. So opposite from the Andrew Tate chart, where Ketu is up in Pisces and Rahu is in Virgo. Now, that is an interesting flip, just specifically in those signs, because Ketu in Pisces is considered very well placed and even exalted. Same with Rahu in Virgo. So this guy was born to born to run, born to rule. Seems like a lot of prominent politicians have this combination. Of course, so do regular people. We just don't know about them. So they could be king of their neighborhood or emperor of their company. So anyway, this is Naruhito. He I think, I forget what year, not too long ago, became the emperor of Japan. And in fact, this is actually good birth data. He is a Cancer rising. And so that Ketu in the 9th house, but you can also start, if you have those correct birth datas, you can also start adding in your interpretation of where is the axis sitting in this person's chart, because that's also going to inform how the yoga manifests. So with it being Kala Amrita yoga and all of those planets heading toward Ketu, which is in the 9th house, this seems very destined for him to be almost like a spiritual level lineage leader of an ancient country. So, yeah, very cool. Okay, let's keep moving. Let's see. I want to show you a partial. Okay, so this is Lady Gaga. She was born in the same year as Andrew Tate. And so this will happen because essentially what we need for Kala Sarpa or Kala Amrita Yoga to form is we need Jupiter and Saturn to be on one side of that axis or the other. And so you'll get a lot of people born in the same year that have the same combination. So she was born before Andrew Tate. So she was born in March of 1986. And I believe this is good data. I think this is AA data. So she has Ketu and Rahu had actually moved. They go backwards through the zodiac by the time Tate was born. So she has Rahu in Aries, Ketu in Libra. And as you see, all of the planets are moving toward Rahu. But why it's partial is that she has Venus with Rahu and Moon with Ketu. And the way I was taught when I was studying in the Sanjay Rath lineage for a while was that if there were planets joining the nodes, in a sense, they had the ability to break the hold of the Kala Sarpa or Kala Amrita Yoga. So look at this person. I mean, she has an amazing voice. Both the Moon and Venus are very much associated with the voice. Moon is her second house ruler. Venus is her fifth house ruler. Not only her voice, but just her style, her fashion, her performance ability. She's a queen. She's really great. So that's an example of what it looks like when there's a partial yoga. Okay, let's look at a different one. This one is cool. This is the Special Olympics, which was started by one of JFK and RFK's sisters. But the very first Special Olympics was held on July 20th, 1968. And I picked 8 a.m. I could not find the actual details of that, but I figured it was a one-day event. They probably had to start pretty early. So I picked 8 a.m., which makes the Special Olympics, like my choice for Victoria's Secret, a Leo rising. This is a powerful chart. You can see that Rahu is in Pisces, Ketu is in Virgo, and then all of the rest of the planets are from Aries to Leo, pretty well spread out. The Special Olympics is an amazing organization and series of events that has promoted athletics for disabled people. And what a fantastic positive impact it's had, and it is still going strong. I don't think we're going to see the end of the Special Olympics anytime soon. And again, this one is a Kala Amrita Yoga. So the feeling of immortality or long-lasting things seem to be going along with Kala Amrita Yoga. Nirhitu had that. And the Special Olympics has that. So very, very great organization. All right, let's do another one. This one's kind of interesting. This one is from the same year as Kaya Kalas and Victoria's Secret, but a couple months later. So again, 1977 had a Kala Sarpa Yoga going on. So Ketu in Pisces, Rahu in Virgo. And what this event was, the wow signal, you can go look it up. I think it was the University of Ohio or something like that, was doing this searching for extraterrestrial intelligence. That's what SETI stands for. And so they were monitoring interstellar sounds and whatnot. And there was a volunteer going over the data set that had come out, and he saw this really intense blip, like the ears heard something from outer space, and it's really never happened again. But he wrote wow next to it, and that's why it's called the wow signal. And we do have the time for this one. I went and looked at the little logs. So it was like 10:15 p.m. this happened. So I think it's interesting that it's a Pisces rising with Ketu in the first house and Rahu in the seventh house, right? The other people come through the seventh house. And yeah, just an interesting chart with the wow signal. Okay. Okay, this is a good one. Intel, the company. So Intel was started in 1968 as well. Rahu in Pisces, Ketu in Virgo, and it's a company that does all kinds of microchips and that kind of thing. It was started by two engineers in Mountain View, California, and which I think is really interesting. Again, I made the time up on this one. I don't know when these two guys said, "Okay, we're doing this company." They named it Intel a little bit later from when they started it. It was started a different name, but this was the beginning of it. And again, this is the Kala Amrita yoga. So all the planets moving toward Ketu. And wow, Intel does not stop. It just keeps getting more and more integrated in everything and profitable. And I don't think we're going to see the end of Intel anytime soon. It was Special Olympics was the same year. So I think that noon is a pretty good choice based on the fact that the two guys who started it were engineers. So there was a strong partnership. Which Rahu in the seventh would show. And the fact that they were a pair of engineers is very Mercury and Mars in the 10th house. So, again, 1968, if you're born during that time, you might want to check your chart to see if you have this combination, because maybe you'll live forever too. Okay, let's see. I may or may not do all of these. Okay, Pope Leo. He's like a current pope, the first American as a pope. And I believe this is good data. No, maybe not. This one I could have rectified and guessed at. But we're talking again about Kala Sarpa yoga, all the planets moving toward Rahu. And he's got Jupiter exalted in Cancer. He's a religious leader. And Saturn, if I'm correct about Libra as the ascendant, Saturn on the ascendant especially shows the idea of self-sacrifice. It also aspects that exalted Jupiter. It's an exalted Saturn. And yeah, I feel like this guy is leading somewhat of a fated life. And as a spiritual leader, he is contending with a time period as an American pope where the United States has kind of gone off the rails, and he's now leading this extremely old organization we know as the Catholic Church. So he's walking a razor's edge, that is for sure. All right, Pope Leo, thank you. Good luck. Tim Walz, he still is, he's alive. He was born in 1964. He was the vice presidential candidate in 2024 when Kamala Harris was running for president. Okay, again, another Kala Sarpa yoga in effect, 1964. I don't know this guy's birth time. Again, unknown. But interesting chart nonetheless. He's got all of the planets spread out into all the 5 signs there, and he's still the governor of Minnesota, I believe. And whatever, this guy has a political life. He joined the National Guard pretty early on in his life, and then he's been in politics for most of his life. So I think he was picked sort of as the, American good guy looking person. And, the win did not happen for Harris and Walls in 2024. He was 60 years old. He was born in April of 1964. So when that all happened, he turned 60 years old. Probably one of the biggest pushes of his life. So, and again, this is a pretty strong Rahu and Ketu setup. Rahu does really well in Gemini. It tends to be a world-changing time when Rahu transits through Gemini, and Ketu in Sagittarius is also quite powerful. I think I have another chart. Oh yes, this guy, John Swinney. I don't know much about this guy. He's like he's a Scottish politician, but he was born like a week away from Tim Walz, which I think is interesting. So again, similar setup to Tim Walz. Again, another politician. He did win. whatever he went for, he did win. The moon is in a different location for this guy. So. All right, let's see if I have anything else or if this is the end. I think I got through all of them. So anyway, that's my presentation on Kala Sarpa and Kala Amrita Yoga. I do mention that sometimes, so that's why I made this video. It got quite long, but hopefully you've enjoyed it. And feel free to ask questions in the comments if I've been unclear about anything. I get excited and I don't use notes, so I do my best. Thank you so much for checking this out, and take care until next class.